Okay, so we're going to look at economic viability, and we're looking at this from the designer's point of view, right? So in order for you to have a financial return, we need strategies that minimize costs at the design stage, right? And so we're looking at things like the cost of raw materials, components, manufacturing processes, scales of production, labor, all of that stuff that affects the price of a finished product. And we need to consider economic viability when we're introducing a product, right? Because essentially, if your product is not economically viable, then there's no point in producing it because you won't make any money. That means that your company will be out of business, and therefore it's kind of pointless to have. So it's important to have an economically viable product. All right. Some things that we need to think about is cost effectiveness, and so this is a definition you definitely need to know. So the most efficient way of designing and producing a product from the manufacturer's point of view. That's what cost effectiveness is. And we need to think about lots of different factors. So like, the manufacturer needs to consider the cost of marketing. How expensive will it be to market your product? How about distribution? Is it expensive to distribute your product? Transportation, how much is it going to cost to transport your product? These are all things that go into the cost of a product, right? Government taxes, energy consumption, overhead expenditures. These are things like, rent and, anything that is a sort of a standard cost that you'd have. Research and development, capital costs. This is like your equipment that you're doing. Warehousing. Are you warehousing your raw materials? Are you warehousing your finished products? And then, of course, whatever profit margin you want to make, because essentially you want to make a profit. And then what are your labor costs? These are all things that go into the cost of a product. All right, and we're looking at value for money. So this is, again, a definition you need to know. And this is the relationship between something, for example, a product, what is it worth, and the amount of cash spent on it. And this is a very important idea and that's why I put it in like 80-point font here. In order to make money, your costs have to be smaller than the price you charge. Okay, if you're not doing that, then you're losing money. Okay, and if you're losing money, you won't be manufacturing things for very long. Okay, so let's look at some types of costs. So the first type of cost we want to look at is something called a fixed cost. So this is a cost that must be paid out before production starts. So this might be machinery, it might be rent, it might be just a ton of things that it could be. Okay, and these costs don't change with the level of production. So really, these things are fixed, right? So they're not changing. That's why this line over here is flat. Okay, because it's not changing over time. All right, and then we have variable costs. So variable costs vary with output. For example, fuel and raw materials and stuff like that. So the idea here is that the more you produce, the more your variable costs are going to change, right? Like if you have to buy more raw materials to produce more units of goods, it's going to cost you more money. Now, total cost is where you add these two things together. And you should notice that the difference between the blue line and the green line is actually the same all the way across, right? So this. So it's really what you're doing is you're adding the fixed cost to the variable cost to get the total cost. And that's why because these stay the same, because your fixed costs stay the same, then the variable cost and total cost just increase by the same amount every time. Okay, and here's some examples of fixed costs, right? Your payroll is fixed costs, your equipment depreciation, delivery, and sales commissions and advertising. These are all variable costs. Okay, so a cost analysis tool is a tool to determine the potential risks and gains of producing a product. It is used by manufacturers to determine the break-even point. We'll talk about that in a minute of a product and can be used to create multiple scenarios for a product. It also allows the feasibility of a product to be established. So essentially what you're looking at with a cost analysis tool is, is it worth actually making this product? Sometimes you'll see these as cost benefit analysis, but it's essentially like, okay, well, what's the, if I produce this product, will I break even? Will I lose money? Will I make money? What's the, is there a market for these things? So it's looking at a lot of different things. It's looking at the potential risks and gains of producing a product. Okay, break-even points. Break-even points are essentially when you make more money than you spend. That's a, or sorry, the same amount of money as you spend. Okay, and then you want to actually get past that into profit. Okay, so it's the point of balance between profit and loss, right? So loss would be considered, for instance, all those costs, and your profit would be the price that you're charging, or the money that you're earning. And it's represented by the number of sales of a product required to cover the total costs, right? So fixed and variable. Okay, so, and the break-even point is in this graph right here, right? So it's basically, at this point, you're not making enough money to break even. That means you're spending more money than you're actually gaining. And then at this point, you start to make more money than you're spending. Okay, and that's the idea, is to get your business up into this area and not down in this area. Okay, and so that's basically what we're looking at with the break-even point. Okay, pricing strategies. So there's lots of different pricing strategies. So there are many strategies that are available for calculating the price of a product, and often more than one strategy is used. And these go along with the price setting strategies that we talked about in topic 9.3. I'm not going to go into all of those, but if you remember cost plus, demand, competitor, product line, and psychological pricing, those go hand in hand with what we're doing here. Okay, and we're going to go through these individually. So here we go. Price minus strategy is where we are looking at the market demand, and this sets the product price. So before manufacturing begins, right? So you're basically looking, well, what can I charge in the market for my particular product? And that's going to give me an idea of what the price of my product should be. And then I want to make sure that all of my commercial costs, so the manufacturer, product, profit, and everything, they are set to work within these constraints. So if I can charge $40 for something on the market, I want to make sure that my manufacturer and profits and everything else that I've got fall within that $40 price. Otherwise, I won't make money. If the market price for something that I can make at $40 is $30, well, then I'm going to lose money. Retail price. So we have a couple things here to pay attention to. There's something called recommended retail price, so that's RRP, and then there's the manufacturer suggested retail price, okay, which is the MSRP. And these are basically the manufacturer telling the retailer what they should sell the product for. Okay, and it's good because it kind of standardizes prices. However, retailers will sometimes sell below to lure customers in. So they might have a sale on whatever they're trying to sell. I don't know, vacuum cleaners. Let's say that they'll mark the product down below what the manufacturer says you should sell this product for. Okay, and that'll help to lure customers in. Usually, you don't have those prices lower than the MSRP for very long, or the RRP for very long. Okay, here we go, wholesale price. So this is the price of a product sold to a wholesaler. So a wholesaler might be something like, for instance, Alibaba is a good example of a wholesale site. If you go onto Alibaba and you say, I would like to get a bicycle, you can't just buy one bicycle. You have to buy 50 bicycles or 100 bicycles. Okay, they will sell you 100 bicycles. Now, if you only need one bicycle, then you're not going to be a wholesaler. Wholesalers generally buy bulk, and then they sell those bulk items. Remember, there's always that economy of scale idea. So a wholesaler is working on that economy of scale idea. So their wholesale price is generally higher or less than retailer, but it's going to be higher than what the manufacturer makes. And of course, because the manufacturer wants to make money. But if the manufacturer is selling more units, then they will make more money, and they can bring that price down a little bit for wholesale. Okay, Then we have typical manufacturing price. So this is the total cost. This is our variable and fixed cost to the manufacturer product. Okay. And once the total cost is determined, then profit margin can be added. Okay, and the goal is to maximize project. And you usually look at this as the average unit cost. So what is the total manufacturing cost, and then the total units of product produced. It's going to give our average cost. And then you would add to this your profit that you want to add. All right, target costs. These are desired final costs of a product, and it's usually determined by market analysis before the manufacturing even begins. Okay, and then what you do is then you remove your profit margin, and then you're going to design to make sure that you can fit it between that manufacturing or initial cost. So an example of this is like if you know that you can charge $30 for something in the market, then what I'm going to do is take out the $10 profit that I want to make and make sure that I manufacture my product. The cost of manufacturing my product doesn't exceed, say, $20. So if I want to make $30 and I want $10 profit, then I want to make sure that the manufacturing cost stays at $20. Okay, return on investments. So what we're looking at, and this is usually expressed as a percentage. This is receiving a profit or return on the money invested into a product or service. Okay, it's usually a percentage. And the higher the ROI, the better the return. So what we're looking at is, okay, how much money did I make from the product that I sold? And then I'm going to divide that by the total units that I sold, right? And that'll give me usually a number, right? Well, not usually. It'll give me a number. If the number is greater than 1, then you've made money. If it's 1, then you're at the break-even point. If it's less than 1, then you've lost money. Okay, and then you would express this as an ROI, as a percentage. So, like for instance, if your ROI was 50%, then you have lost half the money that you invested into that. If your ROI is 200%, then you've doubled your money. Okay, so that's what ROI is return on investment, and it's basically a division problem expressed as a percentage. Okay, let's look at unit cost. So unit cost is the cost to a company to produce, store, and sell one item. Okay, and you're going to usually calculate this as average cost, and this is going to include all of the fixed and variable costs. Sales volume is the amount of products sold in a specific time period. So this can be like annually or quarterly, right? And it can also be based on things like demographics. So you can have, sales volume for a particular group of people, or sales volumes for a particular geographic region. Okay, so those are other ways that you can also measure sales volume. Financial return. So this is profit generated by a sale or investment into a company, and it can be capital, labor, training, that kind of stuff. So if you are investing into a company, you're going to want to have some financial return. Okay, and we would get financial return, for instance, from capital equipment. So for instance, if you were to invest in some machinery, like automated machinery that would allow you to reduce your labor costs, well, then you would get a financial return. You were to train your workforce so they can do multiple jobs, that's going to be, you are investing in your company, and you're going to expect some financial return from that. All right, and that's it for economic viability. Thanks, guys.